Hi, welcome back to the module arrays. In this video, I will be describing about two-dimensional arrays. So here is the outline. First, we will discuss about the definition of two-dimensional array. Then I will show how to declare two-dimensional array. Then we will see how to access the elements of 2D array, and then we will discuss about the initialization of elements of two-dimensional array. Two-dimensional array is used for various matrix operations such as addition of two matrices and multiplication of two matrices, and there are other operations too. So let's get started. An array with two dimensions is known as two-dimensional array. Here we have two dimensions, one for row and one for column. It is also known as matrix. Actually, a two-dimensional array is an array of an array. Now let me show how to declare two-dimensional array. So here is the syntax. First, we should mention the data type. It can be any valid C data type, integer, float, double or character. Then we have to mention the name of the array, and then we have to specify the dimensions. So in first square bracket we have to specify the rows, and in the second square bracket we have to mention the number of columns. Let's consider some example. In first example, I am declaring one two-dimensional array having two rows and two columns. So here we are getting the space for total 4 elements. It consists of 2 rows and 2 columns. Similarly, consider the second example. Here I am declaring one float data type two-dimensional array. The name of the array is balance. It is consisting of 3 rows. So you can see here, this is the first row, this is second row, and this is the third row. And we have 2 columns. So this is the first column and this is the second column. So total number of elements are 6. Now let's consider the third one. Here I am declaring one character two-dimensional array of size 3 cross 3. Here we have total 3 rows and 3 columns, and the total number of elements we can store is equals to 9. Now we will discuss how to access the elements of the two-dimensional array. As we have seen in one-dimensional array, if you want to access the elements of the array, we should take the help of index. Similarly, in two-dimensional array also, we can access the elements using dimension or using index. Let's consider an example. Here I am creating an integer type two-dimensional array having 3 rows and 3 columns. So you can see here, as you know, the index always starts with 0. So we have row 0, row 1 and row 2. Similarly, we have column 0, column 1 and column 2. So the index of this block will be 0 row and 0 column. Then proceed in the same way. So this is 0, 1. Then move to the next block. This is the 0th row and the second column. When we will move to the next row, the row will be 1, column will be 0. In this way, we will get these indexes, and if you want a specific element, you have to mention row and the column of that particular block. Then we can access that particular element. Now let me explain how to initialize the two-dimensional array. First we have to mention the data type followed by the name of the array. Then we have to specify the number of rows, then number of columns, and then we can initialize here the list of values in the curly braces followed by semicolon. So here you can see one example. Here we are declaring one integer type of two-dimensional array having 3 rows and 3 columns. The elements are stored from left to right row wise. So first 3 elements will be stored from left in the first row, next 3 elements in the second row, and so on. There is one more way to initialize the list of the values. This type of initialization makes use of nested braces. Each set of inner braces represent one row. So in this example there are total 3 rows. So there are 3 sets of inner braces. Alternatively, we can write in matrix pattern 2. So in this video we learn about the two-dimensional array. Now it's time to implement this concept in the program. In this video we will understand how to enter the matrix element using scanf. So let's get started. Let's write a simple C program to enter the elements of the matrix and to print the elements of the matrix using scanf statement. When we initialize the elements, we have to work on the fixed values. To resolve this problem, we can use scanf statement to enter the elements of matrix. Here you can see I have declared one matrix. The name of the matrix is A and the total number of rows are 3 and the total number of columns are 3. So this matrix can hold total 3 into 3, 9 elements. So you can enter maximum 3 rows and 3 columns but not more than that. But you can enter the less number of rows and columns. So first of all we should decide how many rows and columns we are going to enter for that matrix. So we are printing the message using printf statement and we are taking the rows and columns using scanf statement. So here we will consider one simple example of 2 cross 2 matrix. So the total number of rows I am going to consider 2 and the total number of columns I am going to consider 2. So total number of elements will be 4. We can multiply the rows and columns, then we will get the total number of elements. Now we should enter the actual elements of the matrix. If I am considering 2 cross 2 matrix, total 4 elements we should enter. To store the elements entered by user, we are using nested for loop. The outer for loop runs for row and the inner for loop runs for column. Let's check how the execution of nested for loop work. For the first value of outer loop, the inner loop will execute for all the possible values. Then for the next value of outer loop, again all the possible values of inner loop will execute. So let's check here. First the value of I will be 0 and we are considering here m equals to 2 and n equals to 2. So 0 is less than m. The condition is true. The control will come inside the for loop. Then the value of j is 0 and the n is 2. So it is less than 2. So the control will come inside the nested loop and then it will take one value, that is a of ij. So in the first pass the value of I is 0 and the value of j is 0. So we will get the element 0 0. You can see here when we will consider 2 cross 2 matrix, so we need the index 0 0. So we are getting exactly what we want. Then the value of j will be 1 as it is incrementing by 1, and as 1 is less than 2, again the control will come inside the loop and then we will get 0 1. What exactly we want we are getting here. Now inner loop will not execute as the value will get incremented to 2 and 2 is not less than 2. The control will come out of the inner loop and it will go to the outer loop. Now the value of I will get incremented. Before it was 0. Now the value of I will be 1. Again for 1, the inner loop will execute from 0 to 1. Now the value of I is 1 and the value of j is 0. So we are getting 1 0. You can see here we needed the same index. Then inner loop will execute for value 1. So I is 1, now j is also equals to 1, we got the index 1 1. We can see here we want that. So in this way we are getting exactly the same indexes what we want. After taking the input, now we can print the elements of the matrix. So same for loop again we will use, but there we will use the printf statement to print the matrix elements. You can see here we are using again the same nested for loop to print the matrix element. Here I am using \t to give the spaces between the two elements of the row, and after printing one row the next element of the second row should come in the new line. So that's why I am using \n to move the cursor to the next line. The elements will be entered row by row. In this way we can enter the elements of the matrix and even we can print it. Save the file and click on build and run to check the output. You can see here the cursor is waiting for input. I am going to enter the number of rows 2 and the number of columns 2. You can enter the data by pressing enter key or the space bar key. Now the cursor is waiting for the matrix element. So I am entering some random values. You can enter any values of your choice. You can see here we are printing the matrix elements. In this video we will try to implement the concept of two-dimensional array to calculate the sum of two matrices. Consider the two matrices, the matrix A and the matrix B, and we have to add the elements of these two matrices. When we want to add the elements of two matrices, the corresponding elements will get added. You can see here the first element of the first matrix will get added to the first element of the second matrix. The second element of the first matrix will get added to the second element of the second matrix. So in this way we will get these results and it will get stored in the third matrix. So let's try to write the program to calculate the sum of two matrices. Here are the steps. First we should define three matrices, the matrix A, matrix B, and to store the result of addition we need one more matrix, that is C. So you can see here I have declared a matrix A of 3 cross 3, B and C matrix of same dimension. We can store maximum 3 rows and 3 columns, not greater than that. So first of all we will take the row and column of the matrix. To add the two matrices, dimension should be same. So we are considering here that the dimension of both A and B is same. So let's take the row and column of the matrix. Using printf statement I am printing the message, and using scanf statement I am taking the input. Now the second step is to read the matrices. So we have to enter the elements of the matrix, and in the previous video I have explained how to use the nested for loop to take the elements of the matrix. As you can see here we are entering the first matrix element using nested for loop. Now similarly we have to read the matrix B. Using same concept we are reading the elements of the second matrix. Now we have to add the elements of A and B matrix. So again we will consider the same nested for loop. As you know the concept of addition of two elements of matrix, we want the corresponding elements from both the matrix. So the first element of the matrix A will get added to the first element of the matrix B. So you can see here 1 plus 5 we are getting 6. So using the same nested loop we will get the corresponding element. So we are adding the element of A and the element of B, and we are storing the result in the matrix C. Now after calculation we got the resultant matrix that we have to print. To print the resultant matrix, once again we will use same nested for loop and we will print the resultant matrix. You can see here I am printing the message resultant matrix, and using the same nested for loop we are printing the resultant matrix. I am using \t to give the space in between two elements of the matrix and \n to print the next row in the next line. Save the file and click on build and run to check the output. You can see here the cursor is waiting for the row and column of the matrix. I am going to consider 2 cross 2 matrix. So now the cursor is waiting for the elements of the first matrix. So I am entering some random values. Now the cursor is waiting for the elements of the second matrix. So total 4 elements we should enter, as it is a 2 cross 2 matrix. You can see the resultant matrix here. The elements of the matrix are getting added and we are getting the sum of that elements, which we are storing in another matrix. In this way implemented the concept of two-dimensional array, that is matrix, to calculate the sum of the two matrices. Even you can try multiplication of two matrices, and there are some more programs too. In the next video, we will try to understand the logic how to pass the array to a function. So keep learning, keep coding. See you in the next video.